All right, good afternoon, students, families, and supporters. Thank you so much for coming to our Seawolf Q&A student panel, specifically on student leadership. We're so excited to have you here today, and we have 4 different peer assistant leaders that are here to share their experience at Stony Brook University and answer any questions that you may have. We are recording this, so if any case you're not able to stay on for the entire time, we will be posting it to our YouTube channel. And if there are any other videos or Q&As that you were unable to attend, you can check out our YouTube channel in the next week and we will be able to have all of them uploaded by that time. So please utilize the Q&A chat function. Should be kind of on the bottom bar, and that's the way that we can be answering questions. Basically, how we're going to do it is all of the peer assistant leaders or PALs are going to introduce themselves so you know a little bit more about them, talk about the involvements they have, and then you will be able to ask any questions, and they can also, share more about their experience. We can start. We'll do a little popcorn. My name is Stephanie. I'm one of the graduate interns, so I'm just going to be kind of facilitating. And then I am going to send it to Nahian.
Hi everyone, my name is Nahian Reza. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm going to be a senior starting my fall semester, majoring in computer science, and I'm an international student from Dhaka, Bangladesh. Some things I'm involved in is first of all, I'm going to be talking about my club, which is the Stony Brook University Kendo Club, and starting my fall semester, I'm going to be the president of the club. And so it's been a while since I've been in this club, and I'm finally taking the position of being the president of the club. Other than that, some other leadership positions I'm in is I'm in the shift administrator and residential safety program. In residential safety program, we are really dedicated about the safety of our campus. So we actually do check residential doors, give walks for whoever needs, and that's pretty much like a service. If you want to go from one place to another, we actually have someone helping you with that. Over there, I facilitate a lot of stuff. And lastly, I'm also a PAL over here, which is a peer assistant leader position where I'm getting to get to know you all and help you out throughout your summer, your fall semester. And I've been OL, which is orientation leader before as well, so I have more experience with that. And definitely, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to ask me or any other pals over here.
And then you can send it to someone else.
Okay. Pal Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a rising senior here at Stony Brook. Some of my involvement on campus, so I'll kind of go off of jobs. So I've had several campus jobs. I've worked in the Office of Student Life for a year. I was an athletic tutor, so I tutored a lot of the athletes we had on campus. And what else did I do? I feel like I did something else. And now I'm a peer assistant leader on campus. Along with that, I was a former e-board member and executive board member of our Association of Transfer Students, which is a club on campus to help better the overall transfer experience, and make sure that our transfers are getting not only professional opportunities, but social opportunities to meet people and have a good time. I'm also part of Greek life on campus, so I'm part of a fraternity. And I'm also part of our Interfraternity Sorority Council, which is our governing body that oversees all of Greek life. I'm part of that executive board. So yeah, I enjoy Stony Brook and I love getting involved on campus. Pal Alicia.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a rising junior majoring in health science and on the pre-nursing track. So some of my involvement is that I'm involved in CPO, which stands for our Center of Prevention and Outreach. We do a lot of things within our departments, but more specifically, my department is healing arts. So we kind of do arts and craft and how to improve or reduce anxiety and stress through healing arts. Another of my involvement is that I'm involved in Pre-Nursing Society. So it allows me to connect with students who are also interested in the field of nursing or want to get more involved within that healthcare aspect. I'm also in Pre-PA Club, which is for pre-physician assistants. I am not in any way interested in physician assistants, but all the clubs and all the events that they do is really interesting. It's something that I want to get myself involved in. They do a lot of things within the medical and healthcare field. So another great thing to be involved in. I'm also the CSO, Chief Supporting Officer for American Red Cross Club. Really great place to get volunteer hours, do stuff with your community, and immerse yourself again within the healthcare. And last but not least, InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. I both serve on the worship team. I love to sing and I love to play the piano, so I serve on the worship team, as well as being the event coordinator. So I plan a lot of events for my club. So that is my involvement. And I'm going to pass it off to our last pal, Pal Valet.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pal Valet. I go by pronouns he, him, his. At Stony Brook, I'm pursuing astrophysics. I also have a minor in material science and engineering. Some of my involvements are that I used to work in the Office of Global Affairs in the Visa and Immigration Services Department as a student assistant. Previously, I've also served as the president of my hall council, and I was a part of the Residence Hall Association. I have also been a TA for physics, and I'm also the current undergraduate student representative in the University Senate for Research. I have also been an SBU English PAL, and in the New Students and Transition program, I've also worked as an international students ambassador before, along with being an orientation leader. And for the upcoming year, I would also be a part of the undergraduate student government as a senator. Thank you.
Awesome. So as you can see, our students are very, very involved, and there's so many different clubs and organizations and ways that you can get involved and want to spend your time. So my first question for y'all, and again, please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A, but the first question I have for each of you is, what has been your favorite leadership role at SBU so far?
So I can go first. I have been like the vice president of my club for like the longest time. I feel like that was like one of my best like learning positions, I would say, because from that I could actually like get to like talk to the president. That was the current president at that time, and whenever they were not here, I could actually like, since like my club is most like leading practices and going to practice and teaching them about kendo, I could actually lead the practices myself when they were not there, and that was like a learning position I had. Other than that, like I got to like learn a lot from like the president herself, like how to like manage a lot of stuff, like about the money and being like a treasurer, because like as a vice president, like even though you're not like the president themselves, you can actually take like some of the responsibilities of them and get to learn a lot from them. And now like from there I can actually show what I've learned and be the president like myself now.
I can go. I think my favorite position so far has been being VP of the Transfer Association. I think I was able to like kind of firsthand see the impact that the club has on people. A lot of times, for example, I'll start off with one of our biggest events in the fall semester. We held a scavenger hunt during Welcome Week. And we had about like 40 people come out. And there was actually one of the teams that came in by random. So just random students that came in and put it together as a team. We found out they ended up still talking through the fall semester and became really close friends. And that was a really cool thing to find out, because it really showed that like what we were doing was kind of having an impact on the student body. And now those 5 or 6 students who came in not having anybody to really hang out with kind of left with the group. And that was like a feel good moment. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like doing this. So.
I'll go next. One of my favorite leadership positions was definitely being event coordinator for my club. Event coordinator it looks easy, but sometimes there's a lot of logistics that goes into it, but I love it. I love putting my creative ideas for my clubs and having fun and seeing people enjoy the events. So some events I planned is like welcome parties, the end of the year parties. We also did Friendsgiving in my club. We also did coffee house, Christmas party, just to name a few. There's a lot of details that go into these event planning. It's not just, oh, what do we do in these kind of events, but also the logistics of, do we need any technologies? Do we need AV systems? Do we need, who is going to be the MC for tonight? What's the food's going to be like? But I love collaborating with my team. I host like team events, so I have people working for me in a way. But I love just collaborating with others. making my product, the event at the end, is so worth it to see it all come together and people enjoy it. So it's very rewarding.
I actually have two favorite positions, one of them being a peer assistant leader pal. I get to work with these lovely people. There's so much to learn from y'all. And I really love being a pal because that's one way that I get to meet new people and like trying to meet new people and like getting more involved with things on campus. Apart from pal, I also loved being the president of my hall council. That was another great experience. It was a great learning experience. There was just so much to learn. Like what I love about the leadership position is that whenever you walk into those, there's always something unexpected and you always get to learn new things that would be beneficial to you later. So like when I was the president, I was like all the important decisions that we're making, I was heavily involved with that. I was able to manage how we are spending our budget and things like that, and looking after the residents of my building, bringing up their questions, trying to answer their concerns, and trying to communicate between the residence hall director and the residents, and making sure that the community was thriving and they were like actually having a good time while they were living in my building.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. Another question I have is, what opportunities are there for new students to get involved?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that we actually have a lot of clubs and organizations during your involvement fair. It's gonna be the first week of classes, so it's gonna be around like 24th of August till like 31st. And during these two times, you're gonna have involvement fairs, and during these times, you can actually see a lot of clubs, and that's where you get started with the community, I would say, because you actually go and see for yourselves like how the people are in the clubs, and if you want to be a part of that. That's pretty much how I got involved and with like a lot of stuff over here. For my club as well, I started at first like going to the involvement fair and meeting the people over there, and I found more myself a community, and that's like how you start like caring for the people in the community and start to like have like some kind of like a emotional attachment to the club, which makes you be a leader at some point, and like because like you want to care about the growth of the club, and there's like a lot going on over there right after that. So definitely explore your options that you have over here, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna find a community for yourself or where you want to be a leader and where you care about that club.
I think a piece of advice for getting involved is definitely to step out of your comfort zone and don't be afraid to go alone. I think some people are like, let me wait for my friends to come, or let me wait until I see an event that will accommodate my friends. But don't be afraid to try anything. During Welcome Week, I remember I just tried macrame, which is like knitting. I don't know anything about making knots with thread, but it was probably one of the most fun events that I recall. I tell this story every single time, and I took a lot of, well, let's face it, free things and free food from that event. It's really great. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Stony Brook has a lot of different things to choose. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to be a certain something, someone in order to join. We're a very open community. Just try everything. There's no commitment whatsoever. If you don't like it, you don't have to come back, but at least you gave it a try. So that's my piece of advice for you. Just don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone.
I'm going to speak to what Alicia said. As somebody who's in Greek life, like I never thought I was going to be in it. If you would have asked me when I was a first year student, if I was going to ever join Greek life, I would have said a very strong no. But I think I just kind of was like, why not? What do I got to lose? And then like kind of learning about what actually it involves and what you get out of it, I was interested and I kind of like leaped in. I think originally I was trying to get a friend to do it with me, but I was not having any success. So it's just like, you got to take that initiative yourself and just like, if you want something, you got to do it for yourself, because if you try to have somebody else come along with you, you might miss out on opportunities. So really it's just like, taking that 5 minutes of like bravery and just going for it. Because now I'm happy where I'm at. I'm really involved in a part of, Stony Brook involvement that I never thought I would be, come 2-3 years ago. So really just kind of have that little bit of bravery.
Thank you, Pals. I would say, yes, certainly we have so many clubs and we have over 350 clubs and organizations on campus. Apart from clubs and orgs, if you're looking for more involvement or like a good starting point, if you're a resident on campus, definitely try joining your hall council, your building's hall council, or the residence hall association. If you're a commuter, try joining the Commuter Students Association. Apart from that, you could join as an orientation leader or an international students ambassador within our office, the New Students and Transition Office, which is very near and dear to my heart. Yeah, ISAs and OAs are a good volunteer positions to start off, along with Hall Council. Also, if you're more towards like academic involvements, you could ask your professors or your department about their research. That's involvement. Or you could also become a TA for their classes. Well, that's also involvement. Again, trying to get those connections for letters of recommendation and research and for your grad school and career applications.
Okay, another question I have is, are there any particular leaders, either student or professional staff, that y'all look up to at Stony Brook University?
I would say that I am learning a lot from my specifically the pals we have over here and like our coworkers. Like everyone is like so different from each other, and that is giving me an opportunity to learn from each one of them. So like that's the great part about being in a leadership position, is that when you're working with other people who are leader as well, you get to like learn like your own experiences and their experiences as well, which gives you a blend of like both experiences, and like from that you can learn a lot and apply when you are a leader yourself and to your own stuff. So I would say that's a great opportunity for me over here.
I think I learned a lot from when I worked in student life. I learned a lot from the professional staff within student engagement. And especially I talked to our dean, Rick McClendon, a lot. So just kind of a lot of my conversation with him, I learned about a lot like life and like how to approach like mistakes and how to like kind of when you fumble and you need to how to get back up and kind of keep moving forward and work better than ever. I think he gave me a lot of great life advice in that way, which I could also then kind of on a smaller sense apply to my organizations. He really just kind of showed me the way of like, this is how you move forward. You're not supposed to do 100% the right thing every time, because that means you're playing it safe. Sometimes it's better to take a risk, because then you won't live in doubt, won't live in like, well, what if? So that was really great advice I got from him. I really do look up to a lot of the people within student engagement. They do a lot of hard work to not only benefit student involvement, but to cultivate a lot of student leaders from it. And I think that's one of the best parts of that department. So
I really look up to the undergraduate college advisors. They work really hard. There's usually only about 3 of them per each undergraduate college, and they're meeting all of you first years and not transfer students, but mostly first years. And there's a lot of students, and there's only 3 of them per each undergrad. So they work really hard. They're also a really great way to get connected onto campus, because you're going to meet them in your SBU 101 class. And if you do well, you can become a fellow or a sophomore teaching assistant, where you lead Stony Brook 101 classes. So I remember my advisor, she was really fun. She allowed me to feel comfortable in Stony Brook community. I was really good friends with my undergraduate fellow. They end up recommending me to become a fellow. I had to decline, unfortunately, because of time commitments, but they make my experience so much better. They really are so welcoming. So it's a really great person to get to know, and just a great person to look up to.
I have worked in quite a few different departments on campus, and yes, there's a lot to learn from pro staff that work there. They're just more experienced, and the lessons they teach you are very valuable. So like without actually you having to go through the trial and error, they just tell you that what could be a consequence or what could be the benefit of doing something. Apart from pro staff, there was a friend of mine, almost like a brother to me. He graduated, and he was also the part of the undergraduate student government as a treasurer, and that he was someone I really looked up to, because he was the very first friend that I made at Stony Brook when I arrived here, and then he has been with me for since then. And like whenever I need someone to like, whenever I needed help, I could always go to him. So yeah, if you find inspiration from pro staff, well, that's great. But remember that your friends could also be an inspiration for you, because we all come from different circumstances. Our backgrounds are different. We all know different things. We have been through different things. So the lessons we learned are different. So it's like, it's just sharing one another's experience and making sure that we all move ahead together as a team.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. Next question I have for y'all is, how do you balance academics and your involvement?
So over here at Stony Brook, I like to use Google Calendar because that's what Stony Brook likes to use as well. Google Calendar is like a great way to organize your whatever you're doing, like your events and your academics as well. So if you have any assignments due on a day, you can put it on your Google Calendar. A lot of people likes to use like just regular Post-its and Notions as well. But whatever helps you with time management, like I mostly have stuff on the weekends, so I can focus more on academics on the weekdays and just focus on my club works on the weekends. And when I have work like late night shifts due to RSP, I try to finish my work beforehand just so that I can like what I mean by that is I try to like finish my studies before that just so that I can go to work and pretty much spend my time over there. So it's like takes a lot of time at first, like to get used to like how everything is going on. But then if you actually manage your time properly and you know what you're like going for, you should be fine. And just I would say for your first semester, just relax and like see what you can do and what you cannot. Take some time if like there's a lot of things that are going on, and back out a little bit. That's totally fine because you're gonna be here for a long time. And I would say that take it easy and slowly get engaged with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, just like figure out what works for you. I don't think running in your first semester and joining like 7, 8 clubs, like when I say joining a club and like being actively a part of it is very different than just like going to one of their events. They're both viable options, but if you choose to like get fully involved, you're going to want to like kind of be a little bit more selective with how many clubs you get fully involved in, because those are you're going to want to put a little bit more effort into, and you're going to want to like try to go to every meeting. You're going to want to try to maybe pursue an e-board position. So I think one of the biggest things is like try to find a healthy balance between what's viable for you. Because if you are somebody who is so used to being involved in everything, maybe you're a little bit more used to somebody who has like never been involved before, and this is their first time kind of like joining a club. So you know yourself, you know what works best for you. So try to find what works best for you in the case of clubs. And then compare that to how much time you have available, giving consideration to your academics. You don't want to sacrifice your academics for social stuff. Obviously, if you're on task, you're doing what you need to do, sure, do whatever you want with your social life. But yeah, try to find that healthy balance of like what fits in your schedule and what doesn't.
I want to go off of what Pal Chris said, and also Pal Nahin. Besides finding a balance, also make sure to take breaks, mental breaks, physical breaks, whatever it may be. We get it. It can be really stressful. You don't have to have 8 clubs to be stressed. You can have 1 club and 1 bad test to be stressed. Just make sure you have time for yourself. Some students like to schedule a time every week for themselves, like a complete relaxed day. I know last semester I left Fridays with no class. I make sure I scheduled my entire classes with no Friday classes, so that Friday is my to-do work day and also to take a break day before I continue again on Saturday and Sunday. So I think that's really beneficial for both your mental and physical, emotional, social, whatever it may be, that kind of wellness. So remember to take breaks. Don't stress yourself out too much.
Continuing on what Pal Lisha, Pal Chris, or Pal Nayan said, yeah, it's very important to find the balance. And one of the best thing about the clubs at Stony Brook is that as a member, you're not like, you don't have to commit to attending every meeting. So it's like you could attend one meeting, be a part of the club, but then you could be like, oh, there's a there's an academic conflict with that meeting, I cannot attend it, and no one would question you with that. So that's a good thing about the clubs at Stony Brook, that the commitment is very flexible. Also, yeah, we are here. Stony Brook is an education and a research institute, so we are here to like succeed academically. So for me, that's my main focus. Like I don't let my co-curricular or extracurricular engagement and involvement affect my academics. I make sure that that I am more focused on my academics. Also, it is very important that you have a plan or a set schedule in your mind, at least for the coming week, so that there's nothing that might come out as like unexpected. Oh, there was an important task, but then there's also a conflict. So like you could talk to your club, or you could talk to organizations, or your wherever you're involved, and they would be able to work it out around your schedule. So that's a great thing. Also, before like, so I'm an international student, and before arriving here, so someone told me that discipline and consistency will take you places where talent can't. So it's like that's the power of being consistent and being disciplined, that once you start doing your things, everything starts falling into place, and then it automatically leads to a balance between your involvement and your academics. So it's like you have to be consistent with what you are doing, and nothing should get sidelined. Because remember, the time that is now, or the moment that is now, when it's gone, is never coming back. Your time is also your most abundant resource, and it's also your most scarce resource. So use it wisely.
Preach, Billy. Those are some good quotes. Wow, amazing. Based on, Billy, what you were saying, and kind of Chris as well, can you talk a little bit about like the different levels of involvement or commitment that are required? What are GBMs? I don't know if y'all have said that, but that's something that students will definitely hear.
I got you. All right. So, okay. So it kind of starts off like almost like level one. All right. So you go to the involvement fair, you reach out to them on social media, you follow them, you reach out to them on their SB Engage, whatever you want. That's kind of like your general interests. Beyond that, it kind of goes off into different paths, because depending on what type of club you're trying to join. So first off, if you're just joining like anything that's like very, all you have to do is just join to be part of it. Those type of clubs, you just kind of come and go as you please. They usually host just general body meetings, which are GBMs. Those are usually held like once a week. They either discuss general business about like the club function, or they are hosting an event in the kind of in the club theme. So if you're, for example, if you're hosting, I don't know, first one comes to mind is College Democrats. Usually College Democrats will have like some random assorted discussion topic, or they'll do a debate, or they'll watch, especially during any sort of election, they'll watch or they'll talk about different candidates or whatever. So that's kind of like how those clubs kind of function. Any other club, which are more tryout or interview based, those take a couple more steps, because you then have to go through almost like a screening process with the already existing members of the organization, whether that's with their executive board. In terms of Greek life, that would be like their rush chair, their recruitment chair. So those are the kind of that there's like almost like a second step to them to joining those clubs. And then obviously those kind of vary on how to do it. So for performance club, you would try out. A fraternity sorority, you would be part of the recruitment process. Then beyond that, it completely depends to you on if you are part of a club that's just join only. It really depends on how you want to come and go. So if you just don't want to, go once a month, that's totally up to you. If you want to go every week and be a dedicated member and show up to all their events beyond their GBMs, that's up to you. Obviously, a club that has a little bit more, a couple more steps to be involved in it is going to have a couple more rules and regulations on how you can come and go. So that's another thing to kind of keep in consideration, because if you choose to join a club try to join an a cappella group, obviously they're going to have practices. So if you miss those practices, it might not be advised to miss them. So that's kind of something to be looking out for. Other than that, though, a lot of times you don't even have to necessarily join the club. You can literally just show up to events. Pal Valet mentioned that already. Literally just come and go as you please. A lot of times clubs will just host events to the general campus, not just to the members of other club. No clubs like check if you're part of the club, really. It's just you just go, show up, and have a good time. And as Pal Alicia mentioned, there's always free food, always free stuff. So no shame in it. Go grab your bag, go get your free stuff. Because again, that's what it's there for. It's there for you to enjoy it and have a good time.
Also, following off to what Pal Chris said, so there's like a lot of things like that you should know about the clubs, that some clubs are different from each other. Some clubs do actually have like auditions, like Chris said, for you to like be a part of the club, but also some clubs are just like free to join, right? So it's totally up to you how you actually manage like your time to go to these clubs. Like we also said before, you don't have to go to the clubs all the time, but let's say you decided to be an e-board, right? And that's actually a lot of responsibility once you have like gone to the club a lot. And if you actually win the election to be the e-board member of the club, from then like you actually have to participate, like to like, at least I recommend, because I make that like my e-board, they have to participate in all of the group body meetings and the practices, because that's like what we have as a requirement, because you're going to be the student leaders, and the students that are coming to the club, they're going to be looking up to you and making sure that you're going to be coming to all of the practices, because like you said, an example for them, and you actually are like controlling the club and making sure that the club is growing and all. So for that, you'll have to be coming to all the group body meetings, the practices, and making sure that you're right on time with everything. So like the responsibilities increase as you go for e-board members, but for general like going to the club itself, and if you're not an e-board, just feel free to go to the events and just be there whenever you want to for a good time.
Thank you, Pal Chris. Thank you, Pal Naya. That was pretty much all. And I don't think I would like to add anything more to that. They covered everything. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much all for sharing. Another question I have for y'all is, what is something that you have learned while being involved and in these leadership positions?
I think the biggest thing one of the biggest takeaway I've gotten is be ready to admit fault. A lot of times when you're, especially go higher up into your leadership roles, there's not more pressure on you, but there is more focus on like you specifically as a leader versus you as just a general member of the org. I think it's just kind of being open and honest with where your faults are and also where your strengths are, because that can kind of cultivate a really strong team, especially within your executive board. You want to make sure everybody's playing to their strengths versus playing to their weaknesses. And so as a leader, you kind of have to play by example. So in doing so, you have to be the one to be like, oops, I messed up, or not really good at that. Can somebody else help me? It's kind of hard if you've never done that before. Somebody who like, I've never really like been the one to be like, yeah, I'm not good at that. Somebody else like help me. But once you learn how to do that, you become a significantly better leader. And no matter what role you're in, because a lot of these skills you learn within these leadership roles are so transferable to not only other organizations, but to outside life. Especially once you go into your career, having these skills you acquire are just so resume worthy, that they're really strong to wherever you want to go with them.
I want to just back up Chris. Besides admitting fault, communication is key, not only with your general body members, but also your executive board members, any kind of student leaders, whatever it may be. You guys are all a team. Sure, the president is like the head of the club, but it doesn't mean they get to, become more or go over somewhere. At the end, we're all like the same person. We're all equal. We're just trying to do our different tasks for a common goal. So even working as a pal with all my team members and coworkers, we have different experiences, we have different backgrounds, we have different things and ways that we do something, but our common goal is to have a successful transition for our new students. And that is important to remember when working as a student leader. You have a lot of responsibility, you have a lot of focus, like Paul Chris said, but the most important thing is to communicate, admit fault, figure out what to do. Our team always preach this, but it's better to ask a stupid question than do something, stupid or get a stupid answer back. So it's better to ask questions. It's okay to make mistakes. And the best thing to do all of this is just by communicating and, be open to communication.
So things that I've learned so far in serving all these leadership positions is that how incredibly powerful focus is, like the ability to get work done. If you're focused, you could pretty much achieve anything if you keep working towards it. And something I learned, and another thing that I learned is the ability to make hard decisions, because that was something I really struggled with. And once you get into a leadership positions, there's gonna be time, like you cannot please everyone. Not all things can be great. Not all things can be good. Sometimes things go out of your way, but then you have to correct them, and that's when like you have to make tough decisions. And yeah, that's something that I learned. Also, I believe that serving in those leadership roles has certainly improved my communication skills. Like I don't think I would be a person that I am now if I weren't to be in those roles. Yeah. And what more? Communication skills. Also, it just serving in these leadership positions is just going to help you develop the mental resilience that you're going to need in your future life, guys. Trust me, once you serve in those leadership positions, and once you have like the things ramping up and things going in your mind, it's just gonna you would have to push through your limits and to make things succeed sometimes. And that's really gonna be beneficial when you are like out in your career or pursuing your career or in your professional life.
So I'm gonna get emotional for a bit, but pretty much that I would like to say that my coming over here, since like I was like international student as well, there were a lot of things I was not very confident about, and one of them was like my communication skills. Like I actually went through a lot of like things through that, but I would say that like in going for like a lot of opportunities for engaging opportunities over here, that actually certainly helped me a lot, like finding more about myself and getting to meet a lot of people over here, starting with my club, because like I do have like an emotional attachment with my club. And like because like I met these people when like I was like actually going through a hard time in my life, and from that like I actually got to like make a lot of friends over here. And that was like back in COVID, where like not a lot of people were on campus. And back at that time, since I actually got to like meet a lot of people, that encouraged me to like go for other opportunities as well, and like get myself involved on campus. Once you start like going somewhere, that actually gives you more encouragement, like try to explore more things, gives you more confidence that you can do it, definitely. So make use of these opportunities, and I'm so glad that I did, because right now I feel like I'm in a much better state than what I was before. And that's certainly because like I took like a chance to like get out of my comfort zone, and I actually did. I'm so glad that I did that, and now I'm in like a leadership position that I'm so proud of myself.
Just one quick thing I want to add to that. I think one of the craziest things is going off what Pavel mentioned about like not being able to satisfy everybody. That's a very hard thing to come to a conclusion to. Like, I think one of the biggest things people go into leadership position is just wanting everybody to be happy. And that's a hard thing to do, and it's usually nearly impossible. And it's just like coming to that conclusion that we're just going to try and do what's best for the majority, because everybody's going to have their opinion. Everybody's going to feel a certain type of way. It's just kind of being like, okay, well, there's 30 of us and 25 are happy with this solution, so we're going to go with that. It is just really having those hard conversations. And again, like your communication skills, you improve drastically because of that. You have to learn how to like let somebody down really nicely and be like, listen, we're not going to go with that idea. And you have to be no emotion in your opinion. It has to be strict facts always. And that's what really makes somebody a strong leader. Communication just becomes heightened so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Those were all great answers. I want to, again, open it up to any of the attendees. Please feel free to put any questions you have in. If you don't have any questions, we can also start wrapping up. I want to extend, is there anything else you pals want to say or share with new students before we head off?
Yeah, I just want to say that like we always said this like throughout the whole session that just go out and explore yourself. If you need any help or are looking for a friend, like us pals are always going to be there during your welcome week or even after that, like looking out for you and making sure that you're having a great time and getting yourself involved over here. It doesn't only have to be clubs or organizations. There's like peer mentor, like just like us. There's like TA positions as well. So all of these positions, they're going to be giving you like some different experience. And once you get like a blend of all experience, you're actually getting to enjoy a lot of things on campus. So definitely make sure of like and like go out like and explore a lot of stuff because that's gonna help you a lot. If you need help, like we're always there for you. Just saying.
Um, Thank you, Balnayan. And in the end, I would repeat my point again that the time that is gone is never coming back, and just let that decide what you do with it. Like that's the thought I live by. Like, what's the most important thing right now? Not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. Just what's the most important thing right now? Just do it.
Just enjoy your 4 years here. If you have less, enjoy that amount of time, but really make this your time to thrive. If you feel like you're weak in a certain area, like if you're not a good public speaker, sounds crazy. Put yourself in a situation where you got to talk a lot in front of people. That's a great time to get experience and feedback because people will always give you feedback, whether you like to hear it or not. Like people are always going to like try to help you grow and succeed because that's what people want from you, especially within your own club. They're just going to want to keep trying to help you improve. So those are great ways to just like the little things you picked up about yourself. Just put yourself in those situations and you'll be surprised at the end of 4 years, you'll be a completely different person, but the person you want to be versus somebody, what other people think of you, you know?
Awesome. Thank you so much to all of our pals. I really appreciate all the information you shared and kind of getting vulnerable and, all about the experiences you've had while at Stony Brook. It looks like there aren't any questions from the attendees or participants. So thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate you coming and listening to all the great things that they had to say. We're so excited to welcome you this August. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the new student in transition programs at Stony Brook University, and have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Have a good night.